Hey, this is Pixie doing another video. How are you? That's the main thing. Hope you're doing well. Right. Yeah, I've started a project in my local town. I've mentioned this before as well about kind of like a biodiversity. So what I'm doing at the moment, I think there's a couple of things I've got to do. One, I've got to mark out the town in a grid, and then look at the things I'm putting in these grids, and see if any of them thrive and what the impact of that. And also with kind of like a biodiversity, because I'm planning to increase the diversity. I hear this stuff about native plants, but I think a lot of plants in Britain aren't native. They've been introduced. So I can't really see what the problem is. As long as you're not, I mean, the plants are not as dangerous as animals. Not that I'm aware of. As long as you're not bringing something like bindweed or something like rhododendrons that killed off the other plants around them and things like that. But that's their natural qualities they've got. There are some more ones that don't do that, I'm sure, but they've got bacteria that's already with the in the roots, and so it kills off other plants. So things like that. I mean, that's the kind of assessment you want. What you want is something that's beneficial to the best of your knowledge. Now, some plants will have certain alkaloids and toxins, but for creatures and animals, when they come across new plants, they try them out first, and then if they're not compatible, then they don't tend to feed on these certain things. There's animals that will eat anything, and there's animals that eat certain things. So the only issue you've got is if you introduce something very similar, or a subspecies that in some way is not compatible or toxic or something like that. You know, like if I introduced a new type of grass that was poisonous in some way, then that might be a problem. But not really. Nature finds its own balance, and also I trust that nature's intelligent. This is the battle there in itself. Some people believe that nature is just chaos, and it's not. It just has a kind of harsher reality. It's not about simply existing. It's about cultivating change and adaptability. So anyway, so I'm going to look at a grid, divide the grid, look at the biodiversity, add to it, look for new species to add to it, and also what things they benefit already. So I'm putting some datura. They're quick growing, they rapidly produce seeds, they feed things like moths and insects, the flowers. They do have alkaloids that to a human are too strong. Maybe some other omnivore would be at risk, but there isn't really anything I'm aware of that eats, well, maybe possibly a deer's, but then again, if that was a problem in the States, you would have certain things like deers and other things would just die out because they would eat it. I mean, you do get things like munkjacks and stuff in UK, but where I'm putting it, there's probably a very low population of anything there, and so I'm boosting the insect population. I don't know if slugs will eat daturas. They might do, and if so, that feeds the birds. But even so, it's not that toxic. I mean, they talk about how toxic it is. I don't know why. Maybe it's because the people are eating the root system, or they're eating loads of, like, hundreds of seeds of the pods and stuff, that they're going on these delirium highs. I mean, it could kill you if you ate a whole plant. But then the same with his cousin, like the potato. You know, the deadly nightshade family is quite broad spectrum, and they already exist. So it's not like I'm introducing something from a different continent. And what grows in people's gardens from anywhere? It's just, it seems to think, oh, if it goes outside of that. To be honest, we need to be growing more stuff. The more we grow, the better. What happens if a plant becomes extinct in an area of the world where it could have thrived somewhere else, or it could have supported another ecosystem, like bees and stuff? Yep, you're in the road. I need you out of the way. Oh, you can't move. Go on. That's fine. So I think it's kind of a duty as a caretaker to the planet and a supporter of Gaia to increase the biodiversity, basically. So that works both ways, especially the climate's changing. It's a lot warmer in Britain, milder the winters. We do have some cold snaps, But that's it. I think it's just some sort of solar cycle. I mean, when I was young, you'd have snow, a good foot or so of snow. I could make massive snowmen and all sorts of things when I was a lot younger, but that doesn't seem to have too many sessions like that. Last time we had that, it brought it to a standstill because nobody was prepared for it. And it just had this like a blizzard that hit my local town, and people were forced just to leave their cars where they were and walk home, which they should do. I mean, they should have protocols in place. They need a survival protocol. Maybe I should make the Good Citizen Guide. It's your duty to know how to defend yourself. Things like that. Or maintain social order at some level. And stuff like that. Maybe like some sort of anarchy book, really, wouldn't it? And also, what people need to do, if you're going to go flip into this, talk about other things like, survivalist stuff. Put your life, not your life history maybe, but put important stuff into a pen drive. Not just store things online. So that if something happens to you tomorrow, you might have some interesting memoirs, you might have an online diary, you might have all sorts of things in this pen drive. Something that can be kept. Or if something happened where all the power went out and you had no technology for a while, you've got this backed up on a memory system that can be accessed in the future. Depends on how good the technology is to survive. So it's a time capsule in essence. I think there was the Orville, and they had something like that. They found a mobile phone from this century, and they wanted to extrapolate what these characters were from this person's diary. They wanted to find their character, so it was interesting. I think someone fell in love with a hologram, which is pretty much the Star Trek thing, isn't it? So yeah, anyway, that's a bit off topic. So I think that's the basic of my interest, is just to introduce some new things here and see if we can make them thrive. But I also need to look at the populations that are low, and I think insects are a lot lower the population, because we live in very sterile environments. We get the trash, we bin it, we can send it out on certain days. It's never out there long enough for anything to feed on it. It should be. It just means you have flies and everything in the rubbish dump or somewhere quite isolated, but you don't have the resources because they feed things. I mean, we might not like them, but they have a function. It's just the way life is, really. So yeah. Anyway, this is Pixie signing off, and have a great day, and speak to you soon.